What's up everybody? Today we're trying something new. This is a surfboard that has been in my garage for the last 3 years. I've surfed it a bunch. This is episode 12. Welcome to Shred Show. Hello and welcome to Shred Show. I am your host Chris Crow and this is the internet's most stoked surfboard show, where we talk about surfboards and surfy things that matter to me and things that matter to you. And you wanted to talk about the Channel Islands Biscuit, so here it is in the fiberglass. First one to ask for this was Joaquin Samper. The second person to ask for this board was Ben in Santa Cruz. After that it was like 1, 2, 3. A bunch of you asked to talk about the Biscuit. For those of you who have never watched an episode of Shred Show, we talk about surfboards. If you like the video, click like. If you really like the video, click favorite. And if you want to say hi, do so in the comments below. Of course, if you want more episodes, you can always click subscribe. We always start by giving our boards a rub. When we rub the board will start telling us things that it wants to do in the ocean. And when I'm rubbing the deck of this board, I'm feeling heel indentations. Indentations from the ball of my foot. Because this is actually one of my personal surfboards. And if you want any indicator of what a Channel Islands board will look like a few years later, this is it. They really don't yellow that bad. It's still in really good condition. And I do take really good care of my surfboards, but the glass job has totally performed to my expectations. Normally I talk about surfboards as if I haven't surfed them, and that's for this one very important reason. The challenge that all of us have as surfers is we're expected to go into a surf shop, look at the racks of surfboards, and kind of go like, should I buy this? Before we even ride the surfboard. So when I talk about boards, usually I talk about them in a way that I hope can help you at home or on your phone or on an airplane. If you keep your phone on the airplane, you're probably gonna make the airplane crash, so that you can better go into surf shops and try to understand how a surfboard will work for you personally before you buy it, so that you can make better buying decisions. The first person that I ever noticed who had boards illustrating the principle we're about to talk about was Maurice Cole in Australia, who is known for making these very, very concaved out boards that have such a concave that you can just see it from where you're at right now. It goes so deep in and so deep up. And he makes boards for guys like Tom Carroll and Ross Clark-Jones. Looking at the tail rocker of the Biscuit, we're going to use our straight edge and you're going to see something very interesting. When I set this straight edge down, we can't rock anything right here. There is not rocker through the tail of this board. The tail of this board is straight on the bottom. It just comes out like this. There's nose rocker on this board. The nose rocker is mellow, as well as all the other boards in the same kind of line. Boards like the Blunt by Lost and the Dwarf by Rusty. The Blunt has more tail rocker than the Biscuit, but talking about the Biscuit, because this doesn't have any tail rocker through here, that tells us that this is going to be very good for carving, linking our turns. Matt Boyalos talks about how when he was making surfboards for Kalohe Andino when he was younger, he would make him boards that don't have much tail rocker because it would force Kalohe to learn how to do turns and connect turns. When you have a lot of tail rocker in the board, that's good for flicking off the top, good for turning in the pocket. And to surf a board like this really will help you connect your turns and focus on linking turns and carving. The tail of the surfboard, rounded thumb. Elliptical tail means that when we're doing turns, we're not really going to feel the end of our rail. It's just going to flow for us. You can see that this is an elliptical outline. There's not really any sort of a bump that happens here. This is just smooth curvature from the nose out through the tail of the board. A single concave and slowly starts turning into a double concave. Definitely not a really aggressive double concave. Also not a really aggressive single concave up here. I think that the reason that is because when you have this much volume in a board, this much thickness, that gives you a lot of float. And if you put too much of a concave under the board, again, which gives the surfboard lift, that will actually make a board like this that's really thick, really, really out of control and very, very what they call corky. Essentially meaning just really high up in the water. And I will talk about that later because it does play into how this board will surf in bigger waves. If I can catch an okay angle on that for just a second, you can probably see the space there in the double concave of this board. The double concave continues to work through the fins out here, coming into what is that on the end of the tail? V. V in the tail helps us get rail to rail, helps the board be a bit more drivey. Look at the foil of the Biscuit. We notice that there's not a lot of thinning out happening towards the nose and the tail. This holds a really good amount of volume, foam, from the center of the board, blading out to the nose and blading out to the tail. Tells us that we can surf this board much shorter than we could a normal or a standard shortboard. The Biscuit obviously will work in most any waves that you put it in under 6 or 7 feet. But I think that this board really shines as an option for when you max it out just slightly, because this board has such a deep double concave in the back that you feel it really gets squirty when you surf it on a powerful wave. Rob Machado has surfed this board a lot in Indonesia, if you've ever seen the Drifter, and if you can surf a board like this on like a punchy 5 or 6 foot day, it has a very distinct feel under your back foot because of the bottom concaves of this board. It's almost like as you're surfing it, you feel the water kind of shooting through it in spurts. It's a little out of control, the tail is kind of bouncing a little bit, and it can be an incredibly fun board to surf if you want an everyday surfboard for 1 foot to 6 feet, and if you want to experience that little bit of maxed out feeling that happens when you surf a wave in a bit too strong of conditions, a bit too big of conditions for what the board was designed for. If you've ever surfed the Biscuit, please give us a review of your experience in the comments below. If you've ever surfed a similar board like the Rusty Dwart, the Lost Blunt, or any other kind of a disc shape, please tell us about that board in the comments as well. If you liked the video, please click like, not the thumb, but the actual button below the video on the left, and we really hope to see you next week on Shred Show.